And it appears we are live. Time to talk a little bit about Fantastic Four First Steps since it came out this weekend. A little bit fired up about it because I was one of those people, I'm not one of those people that was saying Marvel was dead or anything like that, but they needed a win. Thunderbolts was a good start and got me primed and ready for Fantastic Four First Steps. So I'm pumped that it ended up being very good. I'm pumped to kind of talk about it a little bit. This is a movie that I had high expectations for, but I was cautiously optimistic. Marvel hasn't had the best track record. We're not even talking about TV because I barely watch any of the TV, but when it comes to the movies, Captain America, that didn't do it for me. Thunderbolts, okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. More practical effects, more grounded story, less interconnectivity, even though that's what made stuff like Endgame really good. And then this, man, a total standalone story. You didn't need to do any of that third-rate Disney Plus homework beforehand. You just sit down and enjoy a big-budget superhero popcorn movie. And it just happened to be, the group that's my favorite superhero group. I've got tons of Fantastic Four comics upstairs. I love all the Hickman stuff specifically. And it's just like, you got to let out a sigh of relief after that, It looked good. It had a good tone. The performances rocked. I mean, sure, I think it could have been a little bit longer and used one more action sequence, but all in all, this is a return to form, dude. I mean, I was looking at my rankings of the MCU a couple nights ago, and I was really toying with where I was going to put it. It's in my top 10. It might be at that number 10 spot, but it's in my top 10. So, I am pumped about how much I enjoyed this one. It really feels like we're back a little bit, baby. We're back. We already got T up in the chat over here. I'm ready for the movie to be spoiled now. Yeah, this is one that I'm really going to enjoy discussing, so I'm glad you're here, T. He also said, I loved Galactus showing up again as a giant cloud. That was my favorite part of the movie. We're getting away from the cloud stuff with Galactus, thank God. I mean, there was a little cloudiness in this one, but not nearly as we'd come to expect in the Fox Fantastic Four and Fant Four Stick, as it's very clumsily named. So, non-cloud Galactus, actual Galactus was one of the best parts of the movie for me. So I'm pumped that they made him look so good. The only thing is I didn't get to see it on IMAX. I really wanted to see it on IMAX. I was seeing all those people compare, like, hey, if you saw it on true, 1.43 to 1 ratio IMAX, you saw this much Galactus, and I only saw like a freaking shriveled amount. So I need to go for a second viewing and go to legit IMAX. There aren't that many actually full IMAX experience screens around me. I think there's one in like Providence, Rhode Island or something. So I got to go do that. Luke Ponto, big friend of the channel's in here. Sully, my dude, hope you're well. I am well. Sitting here on a Sunday talking about a really good Marvel movie. Haven't been able to say that for a few years, ever since Guardians 3 came out. So, happy to be here. Hope you're doing well too, dude. But I think what we need to talk about mostly here is that Matt Shakman, the director, he just did a lot of little things right, and they added up to become a great experience. Like, the performances were really good. The camera work was really cool. Like, I seriously think that Interstellar nod where they're kind of hula hooping around a black hole to escape Shalabal, like, that is just that kind of goofy Saturday morning cartoon sci-fi shit that I am here for. I am seated for that. I love my sci-fi, and I love when it's weird. I love when it's goofy. I love when it's kind of stupid. Like, you think about it, slingshotting around a black hole to escape someone, or kind of doing the Patrick Star Bikini Bottom plan of saying, all right, we're going to take a planet and push it somewhere else. That's kind of stupid too, but that's exactly the type of geeky, weird sci-fi that I'm seated for. So I couldn't be happier with that. Like, I saw some people thought, oh, the plot was kind of overly simple and kind of stupid. Those were pros. Those were pros for me when it comes to talking about the plot. T saying Galactus and a ship giving big time Transformers the movies vibe. Yeah, I mean, it was so techy and metal, and it really kind of gave off that vibe that it was like a Michael Bay creation. I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. Um, I was actually never grew up like a massive Transformers guy, unfortunately. I probably should have, like that and Ninja Turtles. I kind of missed that, even though that was in my prime age group growing up. I don't know why I wasn't watching those, but yeah, it did kind of seem like one of those, just like a hulking computerized mass that they had to try and visit, and it looked really cool. So definitely dug that. T. St. Ball surfing lava and space dust was amazing. Yeah, I mean that was, when you boil it down, that might be scene of the movie. One of the other ones that I think rivals it kind of is, I thought that might have been like the best introductory Marvel movie scene we've gotten, if not ever, like a super long time. Like they could have easily wasted a lot of the runtime kind of building up this origin story, but kind of doing it as like a fun, entertaining, almost documentary style, like late night TV show interview thing. That really kind of that did it for me. It's like, obviously I'm someone that really loves these characters from the comics, so I didn't need to get up to speed on the origin story. And I've liked superhero movies lately, especially in 2025, kind of ignoring the origin story and not kind of delving into that like they've done so many times in the past. But I think even if you're someone that had no idea who these characters were, like I went with my mom, and my mom really dug it. And she didn't really know. She doesn't know who's Marvel, who's DC, any of that stuff. So she went into it pretty blind. She had no problem picking that all up and thought it was super entertaining. So I thought the way they introduced all the characters, it was a really clever, quick, and entertaining way to get everyone up to speed. Especially if you're a massive comic nerd, it's good too, because it's kind of like putting aside, okay, this is the version of these characters we're getting. Like, oh, there might be like little details from the comics here and there. Oh, they're going to include this and that. It's just brass tacks, simple, lay it all out for you in this little like documentary style. So it's like hard to mess up who these guys are after that. But I understand why they want to do that and set the table early, right? Because we've had so many problems adapting this group of characters onto the big screen, right? Like, fourth time's a charm, fifth time if you count that unreleased 94 movie, which I actually haven't seen, but I heard that's on YouTube, so might want to check that out. I might watch that later tonight, actually, just for completionist's sake. But yeah, no, they got these dudes right this time. The only aspect I'll say that left me wanting a little bit more when it came to this core family group of characters, I think Ben Grimm, my boy, got a little bit shafted in this one. I think some of his scenes must have gotten cut out of that final product, because I thought everyone else pretty much got their moment to shine, both action-wise and character development-wise, or at least character moment-wise, except for him. He had that little kind of fleeting romantic thing with classic chain smoker voice, Natasha, what is it? Natasha Lyonne? Natasha, I always forget her name, but it seemed like there was much more there that was cut out, because he meets her for the first time. They kind of have like this little like ooh-ah flirtation thing going on. Then shit's really hitting the fan, and then he kind of meets up with her again at that church, and he's like, oh, I wanted to see you. I don't know. It kind of felt like fast, if that's just the second time he's ever seen this chick. But who am I to gatekeep true love, I guess, from my boy Ben Grimm. But I think the core four were handled really well. The only one I wish that they gave more time to develop was Ben Grimm. And we're already confirmed, we're seeing these people again, thank God, because I can't wait to get more with these characters. So hopefully they give us something in Doomsday, even though that is going to be a busy ass movie, and that's going to be really hard to balance all those characters. I mean, let's be honest, it'll be easier to, Doomsday will be easier to balance character-wise than Infinity War and Endgame. But Secret Wars will be harder to balance than any of those movies. Because it's just going to be, I'm sure they're going to throw the kitchen sink at that one, and everyone's going to show up. But I hope they give us something in Doomsday, like a little bit more about Ben Grimm. Maybe, since we know these guys were just in the 60s for first steps, and they're going to be coming to inevitably our universe, or 616, and that's set in present day. it's not going to be like a Steve Rogers Captain America shell shock where they're like, whoa, I was frozen back in World War II and now here I am. But it'll be kind of close. Even though they had a retro futuristic aesthetic, so maybe it'll be easier for them. But maybe they'll let those moments of kind of grounding themselves and figuring out where they stand in this universe go to Ben Grimm a little bit, because we're probably going to get a lot of Reed if someone's going to be out there explaining who the hell Doom is and what the heck he's got going on. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there, but yeah, going back to my original point, all those characters are done well. They're definitely the best versions of these characters that we've seen in film yet. Still would have wanted a little bit of a cherry on top when it came to Ben Grimm. But I think overall, even though I said, I wouldn't mind for there to be one more action scene or kind of one more chance to see them using their powers, especially Mr. Fantastic. I'm like an absolute sucker for just seeing how they were going to make him look all elastic. And I thought they did a super good job there. The visuals are one of the best parts of this movie. But even though I wouldn't mind one more action sequence to kind of see them in action and do their thing, I have to tip my hat to the film for kind of just making it more of like a grounded sci-fi problem-solving type of movie. It comes off as less of a superhero flick and less of a popcorn, mindless action flick, if half the time is that kind of these characters just like walking around trying to figure out how the hell to get themselves out of this issue without actually taking like physical action to fix their issues. Like, I can't lie, I'm a total sucker for that kind of stuff of guys they're just writing equations on a blackboard and, they're translating alien languages. Like, that is very much my speed. So I loved everything in the movie that kind of revolved around that. I hope we kind of see more of that in the future. But yeah, I really think the only things that didn't work for me were, wish we had more Ben Grimm. The pacing could have been a little tighter, even though I wish it was like 15 minutes longer. So that's a little bit of a balancing act. But outside of that, very entertaining flick. Marvel's best since maybe Spider-Man No Way Home. Maybe I'll say that. So I don't know. I'm pretty surprised. I've had my heart broken multiple times when it came to these characters. Even though we kind of knew what to expect after that first Fantastic Four movie, I didn't think Rise of Silver Surfer was going to be amazing. Liked it as a kid, obviously, but going back and watching it now, it's just kind of not how I picture these characters being introduced. So they had to get this MCU introduction correct, and they did. T saying, find me a lever and it might make me care about Doomsday more, and this was that lever. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I was not really keen on Doomsday. I'm still really, I don't know how you feel about it and everyone else feels about it. I'm still not someone that's dying to see RDJ as Doom. I don't think that'll ever feel like a non-cop-out to me. I don't think that was a smart decision. And I think if we talk about legacy, like franchise legacy, I think that muddies him a little bit in the MCU. Not saying that I don't think he's going to do a good job here as Doom, but it just kind of feels lazy. It kind of feels clickbaity. It's like a clickbaity MCU decision. Don't really know why they did that. Yeah, you think we're in the minority here. Yeah, I don't know. I really can't tell, because it's one of those things where I'll go out there and say it. A lot of people will agree they don't love the casting decision as Downey, but then like he'll get announced or you'll see his face somewhere and it's just uproaring cheers, So I don't really know where I stand or where the public stands on that totally. I just hope I can be proven wrong. I don't think that I'm going to, but I hope I can be proven wrong in the sense that like when that movie starts going and he shows up, I hope it makes sense. It actually is a believable story, and we're off to the races. I think there are, I feel like Doctor Strange in I can't even remember which one it was because they blend together and I double feature them all the time. But in Infinity War or Endgame, the one where he's perusing all the different scenarios, the millions of scenarios where, they're going to win and he only finds one. I really feel like that when it comes to how many times they're going to be able to get this scenario correct. I think 99.9% of the time, any of those attempts, it's going to be like they bring him in a cheap fashion. It doesn't really make sense. If I'm being honest, when it comes to Doom in general, I know a lot of people don't like when people are reused in the MCU, and I'll come off as a hypocrite a little bit, but this is way different than Robert Downey Jr. because who I'm about to say isn't like a pivotal figure. Sometimes you'll forget he was even in Marvel, but I think Mads Mikkelsen should have been the easy choice to be Doctor Doom. I think he would have absolutely killed that role. But, I wasn't the one pulling the strings, if you can believe it. I wasn't the one that made the decision. So, I'm curious to see what the relationship is going to be and what they're going to establish between Doom and Fantastic Four, though. There might be a lot of inference off screen, which I don't know if I like, where, okay, so we get this post-credit scene, right? We see that Doom is meeting Franklin Richards. And then the next Marvel movie we're getting is like Doomsday, right? Like next year or something. So it's like, what's going to fill in the blanks there? What is going to happen, between now and then to inform us of what Fantastic Four know about Doom and know he's a threat and know he's looming? I don't know what's going to happen there. Like, is Doomsday going to start and everything's going to be normal, and then out of the blue, like a wormhole or a black hole opens up and like Fantastic Four crash land, right? And then they say they've been running or are warning them about this guy Doom that popped up in their universe and stole their kid or tried to, warp their kid's mind or something. Like, I don't know how they're going to introduce this to us. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what they want to do there. T saying saw Joseph Quinn in this movie. He reminded me of a young RDJ. I don't know if I thought that he reminded me of a young RDJ, but I do think Vanessa Kirby brings more depth and more layers to her character and had to flex more of those, Oscar-winning actor muscles, kind of. She hasn't won an Oscar, but you know what I mean? Like hoity-toity acting muscles that you go to school to get. But I think for my money, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, Human Torch, was my favorite performance in the movie. I just think everything was much more fun and entertaining and felt lived in and complete when he was on screen. Especially everything he had to do with Silver Surfer Shalabal. I thought his kind of involvement and him showing off kind of his strutting his stuff a little bit in the sense of not wanting to go just run to read to decipher that alien language. He wanted to do it himself. Like, I loved all that stuff. He became my favorite character in the entire film, I think, which I wasn't expecting. I walked in locking in that I was going to be obsessed with Mr. Fantastic the whole time. Because even though Pedro's kind of overexposed, he's overexposed for a damn good reason. He's just a really good actor. So I walked into it expecting Mr. Fantastic to be my favorite character, walked out, and it was easily Human Torch. And a massive part of that is obviously Joseph Quinn. That's all Joseph Quinn. So part of the writing and kind of what they had him doing, I thought they had him doing a lot of interesting, cool stuff. But when it comes to performances, his was my favorite, which surprised me. But, it was a great surprise. Because, I haven't really seen him in too much stuff. Like, I obviously saw him like everyone else in Stranger Things, and I thought he was great in that, but I didn't watch his Quiet Place movie. I can't remember if he was in anything else that I should have seen. This might be like it's definitely the biggest blockbuster he's ever been a part of, right? So he came out there and did a really good job. I was very impressed kind of with what he did. So I'm excited to see more of him. T saying I felt those things about Vanessa Kirby, which I didn't think would be the case. Yeah, so she was your favorite character in the movie. Oh, right, dude. How did I forget that? He was in Gladiator 2, and he was one of the better parts of that film. I like Gladiator 2, unapologetically. It's definitely not as good as the first Gladiator, but it's just a lot of popcorn entertainment, CGI monkey fun. But yeah, he was good in that movie. So I guess you're right. This is the most prominent blockbuster he's ever been in. I've got to assume that they didn't give my boy Ridley that much cash, as much as Fantastic Four, to make Gladiator 2. But yeah, no, I thought Vanessa Kirby was really good in this movie. I was just looking for more of like a fun, entertaining performance, which obviously Joseph Quinn brings as Johnny Storm, but Vanessa Kirby is very easily like the emotional core of this film and holds it all together. A lot of that chemistry and tone of the film probably would have fallen apart if she didn't bring as much of her A game as she did in this. So, yeah, she's great. She's always been really good in everything I've seen her in. Even her kind of like ridiculous little role in the last couple Mission Impossible movies, right? Or she might have only been in the last one, right? I mean, the one before Final Reckoning. She might have only been in Dead Reckoning Part 1. I can't even remember. But all like the face swap and mask stuff and that kind of technology, that was hilarious. But yeah, she's a really good actress. All the cash went to Denzel for Gladiator 2. And you know what? Rightfully so. The dude was having a ball in that film. I can't even fault the decision to bankroll that entire film basically off of, Ridley's ego and Denzel's performance. Like, the guy didn't even try to hide his accent. He just kind of, sounded like a gladiator master from Brooklyn, basically. And I loved every second of that. But I think another big part of why this movie was so good and felt like a breath of fresh air is the lack of connectivity to other MCU projects, which is a super weird, hypocritical thing for me to say, because the interconnectivity is what made so much stuff all the way up until Endgame super special, right? And like got you invested. So I almost think it was like too much of a good thing, right? Like we were like, okay, we've seen all this. We don't need that interconnectivity anymore. Just they kept trying and failing with these last few projects, and they weren't really hitting that sweet spot anymore. So it's like, just give us something simple, standalone, homework free, that's well made and well executed, and we'll eat it up. And that's exactly what happened with Fantastic Four First Steps. And I'm pumped that that's the route that they went. I think that's a really smart idea. I think Matt Shakman is probably going to have his pick of the litter when it comes to what kind of project in the MCU that he wants to make next. I hope it's super sci-fi and weird again. I don't really have any guess for what that might be. But yeah, I Shakman, just give him the keys, give him the blank check from MCU, and just kind of let him do what he wants to do. Because I think he proved, I mean, for nothing else, right? Like, so many directors have tried to bring this group of characters into the fray, or just into live action, and it wasn't pretty. Wasn't a good end result. So for that feat alone, got to give the guy massive props. So I'm looking forward to whatever he does next. I mean, I don't really know the guy. Couldn't really pick him out of a lineup. Like, I know he did WandaVision. I think he did a lot of TV work, which is interesting, an interesting angle to bring to a production like this. But outside of like WandaVision, I can't remember. Did he do? I'm gonna pull up his letterbox. I can't remember what other kind of, like, did he have that many other films? Matt Shakman. Let's see what the deal is. Films directed by Matt Shakman. Oh, and I forgot he did that like Welcome to Chippendales show with Kumail Nanjiani and oh my God, who's that guy I love? Mari Bartlett. That guy that was the kind of concierge guy in the first season of White Lotus and was in the best episode of The Last of Us in season 1. So he's a TV guy through and through, but it's like high production, intelligent television for the most part. So I'm kind of pumped to see what Matt Shakman does next. Obviously, a sequel to Fantastic Four is going to be on the table, which, give him all the cash now to let him make that. But outside of that, you're interesting to see if he picks a different MCU project or property to kind of like focus on. I don't know what that would be. T saying it works well with this movie because of how established this team is, because with any other team other than the X-Men, this doesn't work. Yeah, if you're talking about just kind of like being unconnected to anything else with the MCU, I totally agree. Because for better or worse, just because of the whole Fox deal, and Fantastic Four were included in that umbrella as well, those guys were off just like doing their own thing for a while. So even though, they interact with a bunch of Marvel characters, it feels like they were like on the island of misfit toys, basically. So getting them involved in this franchise now seems like pretty fresh, pretty new, and for lack of a better term, because it's just kind of boring, but exciting. Like it's just exciting to have them in here. I'm super pumped to see what happens with the actual involvement of the X-Men when that happens. I heard there might just be some news that I missed, but I could have sworn that's not happening until like the universe is like rebooted, basically, right? Like I think aren't those characters under contract, or those actors to play those characters if they wanted to reuse them? I think they're under contract until like 2027 or something. So I don't think you're going to see any fresh X-Men characters until after Doomsday or Secret Wars, right? I could be wrong about that. I know we'll get old characters back. Like I'm sure, Hugh Jackman has to be in Secret Wars. Same with like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, even though, Sony has shown they'll play ball with that character and stuff. But T-San, I hope he directs the next Captain America movie. Sam deserves a well-paced and coherent solo movie. I mean, that's a great idea and a great call out, because, obviously Brave New World was not what I wanted it to be when it came out this year. I know we talk about there was like some reshoots and some trouble in paradise there and everything, and reasons why that didn't do as well as it did. I'm one of those people that thought it was pretty lackluster. The story was kind of crazy. The CGI did not look awesome. And, if you know anything about me, I'm a massive fan of that first Captain America trilogy with Steve Rogers. Sam Wilson was an awesome part of those movies. Sometimes you got to question Mackey's star power. He was so awesome as a side character in those films. Like one of the best sidekicks in, my generation's movie history, probably. But I think he has more than enough talent to take over the limelight. And there were cool moments with him in there. But yeah, I mean, having someone like Shackman come in and do that'd be pretty cool. And I know Captain America is not the biggest character to use with this kind of thing when it comes to this aspect, but it'd be kind of cool to see if he gave him like a more of a sci-fi heavy story. Cap is usually grounded in political issues, granted because of the inception of his character and what it stands for, but I think it'd be kind of cool to have him do something spacey. I don't know. That might take away the groundedness a little bit, but you know what I mean. I think that'd be kind of cool. But I think Shackman taking the reins there would be kind of awesome. I don't know if he'll do it, because he'll probably just be like, realistically, I'm theorizing about this. Realistically, he's probably just going to do another Fantastic Four movie, and then down the line, maybe they'll let him do like some kind of a group team up movie. But I don't know if they're ever gonna. I don't know if he will shift to a different team within the Marvel universe, but different character. It might be like a team up movie, or who knows? Maybe he'll give us that. He'll give us that Johnny Storm, Peter Parker team up film that Joseph Quinn wants, and I'm sure Holland wants. I mean, Quinn killed that role, so I don't know why they wouldn't make that happen. That'd be a cool little team up. Even though I am still very hesitant about this next Spider-Man movie. I'm glad that it's going to be boots on the ground in a street level crime film. I've been begging for that. We haven't had that since one of Andrew Garfield's outings. Because every time Holland dons the suit, he has to team up with a guy, right? Like he teamed up with Iron Man. He teams up with all the other Spider-Men. So I kind of want him to have a movie where it's just him. We're not getting that next time because Punisher, and I'm not going to complain because, God, I love Punisher. Am I going to love PG-13 Punisher? I don't know. Half of what makes that character great is Bernthal. The other half is just the insane gore and action sequences that they put in that. His standalone Netflix show rocked for that reason. But they clearly have a plan because they know a lot of people like me are questioning, like, hey, what is going to happen with a PG-13 Punisher? Like, can we do this? I don't know if we can, but we'll see. T saying, that's what I'm looking forward to the most in Doomsday, how Johnny Storm interacts with other heroes in 616. Yeah, and they set him up well to do something like that. He's a super fun character in First Steps. He's got the right amount of like cockiness and showboatiness to his character and his vibe. So I think they're going to do that well. He's definitely shot to the top of my list after this film of characters I want to see interact with other MCU heroes. I'm sure there's some others that I can't think of right now, but coming out of this film, like I want to see him hanging out with Spider-Man. I want to see him hanging out with Thor. I think he's got that right competitive attitude to kind of make all of those interactions chummy and fun, and above all else, entertaining. So Quinn is gonna make bank in this role. I really think. I think he's going to be a big part of the secret sauce of like a kind of a character you can take and just throw into any scenario or any type of team up, and he's going to do really well, and he's going to be a fan favorite. Like I said, kind of funny that I'm saying that because he was who I was probably least excited to see in this new movie before I actually watched it. So total foot in my mouth moment, but I'm pumped he did so well. He's the best part of the film. Him and Galactus, basically. And you know, some people are saying they wish Galactus was in the film more. I actually think he was used pretty effectively. You know, Jaws having its 50th anniversary this year. Shark was only in the movie for 4 minutes, but you feel like he's in it for a lot more. Not saying it was handled as masterfully as something like that, but I think you feel like Galactus is more of a looming threat than his screen time would present. So I was cool with the amount that they used him. You know, we got kind of like scary Galactus where you kind of just see his eyes and he kind of gives us a little bit of lore and exposition. I thought that was cool. And then you get Galactus in action, which was pretty badass. T saying contractually he has to have an MCU character in his movies for them to get made. Is that true? I didn't know that was actually one of the clauses in there. It wouldn't surprise me if that is the case because of what we've seen, you know, going on his 4th movie where he has to have other people in there. I mean, who was it? It was Iron Man. It was Nick Fury. Then all 3 Spider-Men, and now we're gonna have Punisher. And I don't know if it was ever actually was it confirmed that Hulk is in this one. If it is, I'm excited because that might mean we get full-on nasty rage monster Hulk back again, which we haven't seen since Thor Ragnarok is the last time that he gave me the vibes of the Hulk that I really, you know, love. From the comics and within the movies. But if he is in this new Spider-Man film, I think we'll get back to him kind of being a savage because Punisher and Spider-Man are supposed to team up to take him down. They're not going to take him down if he's lame-ass Neil deGrasse Tyson version of Hulk, unfortunately. No disrespect to Neil. But I want to see Hulk just go off. T saying, I'd love to see Banner and Reed interacting. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that, right? Like any of the super smart, way smarter than me, gonna list off scientific equations, mumbo jumbo, like those type of dudes, they're gonna have a ball interacting with each other, and I'm gonna have a ball watching it. So yeah, I think Reed and Banner, that'd be a really cool one. But I don't want Professor Hulk anymore, right? Like I want it to be Banner. Like I want to see Bruce Banner, human form, talking to Reed. And I know we kind of saw that. Like, did we ever get an explanation for at the end of Shang-Chi, that post-credit scene when we saw Bruce Banner as a human, you know, talking about the 10 rings and kind of alluding to Miss Marvel. Did we ever see how he turned back into a human? I don't know if we ever did, but if so, maybe I already got my wish. We already have human and, you know, Rage Monster Hulk separated again, so who knows? But that'll be awesome. That interaction will be awesome. Mendoza saying, missing out on a Tony Stark and Reed banter is sad. Dude, I mean, I completely agree, right? Like, I want to see Banner and Reed interact because that is now the 2 smartest scientist-type dudes we're going to have at our disposal. But it would have been awesome with Stark in the mix. If we could get all 3 of them kind of arguing over how to solve an issue. Or like T saying, if we could get Banner and Tony to kind of tell Reed how ridiculous that plan to move the Earth somewhere else was, that would have been awesome. It's never going to happen unless they do it in some cheesy, stupid way. So I'm going to say it's never going to happen because I hope that. But, missing out on those three super brainiac characters, Reed Richards, Tony Stark, and Bruce Banner, chopping it up and giving us kind of like an all-time nerd writing equations on a blackboard scene, that definitely hurts. I wish we could get that in a future movie, but it's not going to happen. It won't happen until, I'm in my mid-40s and we've rebooted everything and all these characters have new actors. If that's what they're planning on doing, who knows? But I do, I'm such a sucker for that part of the superhero formula, just smart dudes talking about exposition shit that's going way over my head and I don't really know what's going on, but they know what's going on and that seems cool. So there's definitely a lot of interactions with the Fantastic Four team that I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm trying to think who I'd want to see most. So Johnny Storm, I probably want to see interact the most with Thor and Spider-Man. Reed Richards, I want to see talk to Bruce Banner. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, I probably want to see her talk to Scarlet Witch, who we know has to be involved in these next few projects. She's way too powerful. Who knows, maybe Franklin Richards will resurrect her somehow, or Doom will convince him to for bad reasons, but we'll see. And then the Thing, kind of a cop-out, right? I want Reed to talk to Banner, but I want Thing to talk to Hulk. Seeing if he can kind of get anything out of him, because Ben Grimm is a lot more there IQ-wise when he's Thing than Hulk is when he's an angry green rage monster. So it'd be kind of interesting kind of seeing Thing looking at this guy thinking he has someone that's similar to him, and then he tries to talk to him and he's just like single-minded, must kill, must smash. So it'll be interesting seeing that. Sue meeting Namor will be awesome. Yeah, I'm curious to see what Namor's involvement's going to be. I know we saw in the ridiculous chair, what do you want to call it? Chair unveiling video that they did. I know we saw his name in there, so he's definitely going to be involved. Be curious to see how that is. He's obviously kind of filled that anti-hero role in Black Panther 2, where he was obviously the antagonist, but he was still fighting for a decent cause that was, saving his people and keeping them out of harm's way. I think I kind of forget that movie. It's been so many years ago. I haven't rewatched it, but, see what happens there. I don't know what his involvement's going to be. But yeah, I just think this is one of the coolest. You can call it recency bias. This is the coolest team that the MCU has brought into the fold in a long time. Thunderbolts are fun. Give me Red Guardian interacting with everybody. I can't even pick one person. I just want to see him interact with everyone. But when it comes to the teams as a whole, I'm just so much more excited and interested in Fantastic Four. Like I said, I'm just when it comes to the comics, I'm a big nerd about Fantastic Four specifically, especially the Hickman stuff. I got to read more of the Kirby stuff. I have a bunch of it downloaded that I want to go back and read. I'm going on a plane soon, so I'm just gonna rip through. My plan is to rip through a bunch of F4 comics, and I'm also gonna rip through a bunch of DC stuff ahead of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow coming out, and I want to read a lot more Swamp Thing before Mangold's movie comes out, because Swamp Thing from Mangold at the helm is my most anticipated DC movie that's been announced. Hoops is saying, I believe Marvel will approach these actors and transparently ask if they would like to continue. Hey, we know you love this character. We love you in it, but there are so many more stories to tell, etc. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do, right? Because that chair video showed just how insanely stacked their roster is these days, right? So who knows are they always going to be able to contract this many people because they have such a big roster? Are we now going to go multiple movies where we won't see these guys where we would have earlier in phases because the roster was smaller and more contained? Or is it going to get super frustrating and they're going to try to pack all of them in there? But that means the people you're waiting to see have like 2 lines just so we can say that they were in the movie, but they weren't really in the movie. So I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. T saying, I don't think they will though, because it's not enough movies to go around. Yeah, there aren't enough movies to go around. So it'll be interesting to see kind of like what those contracts look like. What will be interesting after Secret Wars, I'm sure people will get asked about their contracts because there are so many characters now that we have introduced to us. And who knows if Secret Wars is truly going to reboot the MCU. Because if it does, all those people that played the roles previously, I'm sure they'll get on like Josh Horowitz's podcast, like Happy, Sad, Confused, and like they'll be like, all right, what did that contract look like? Like, did they give you a chance to come back? Did they want you to come back? How many years was that contract? What did that look like? So it'll be interesting to kind of get a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, on that. I don't know what's going to happen there, but T saying only pushing out 2 to 3 movies a year. Who gets those movies? Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to that. That's a great question, though. A lot of mouths to feed, and they're not nearly going to be making enough movies to get all of those characters involved. Which, if you're someone like me, I've complained about them doing quantity over quality. So, whatever. Like, I can't have everything here. That would be like me asking for my cake to, have my cake and eat it too. But it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. They're going to be very selective. I hope that doesn't mean like more cameos when there shouldn't be, but we'll see. Hoop saying, have you seen team-ups? Look at how many people showed up in other people's movies. If you just mean team-ups within this universe, yeah, I mean, I think you could do that, but like you have to do that so sparingly, right? Like that's like 1 to 2 characters a movie that you could put in, additional to the title character. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, to be perfectly honest. Shang-Chi still hasn't gotten a sequel, T says. Yeah, I mean, which is pretty crazy. I mean, it's shocking to me that we haven't even seen him pop up in something like a post-credit scene. For my money, was that Phase 4 or Phase 5, Shang-Chi? Because I always forget that, to be honest. Because was that Phase 4? Phase 4 film. Yeah, okay. I think it was like, I said if, and this is a big if, right? Because, can't ignore this. But I really think if Spider-Man No Way Home didn't exist, Shang-Chi should be considered like the unanimously best film that came out of Phase 4. I thought it was so good. I didn't walk into it expecting much. I didn't have much of a history with that. I didn't have any history with that character. I really, really dug that movie. So I can't believe that he hasn't been in anything else. I mean, who knows? Maybe the decision to, because the guy that directed Shang-Chi, was it Daniel Destin Cretton or Destin Daniel Cretton? I always mess up his name, but he's doing Doomsday now, right? So I'm sure that threw a wrench in it, but I would also like to hope that means maybe because of where he got his roots within the MCU, maybe he'll give a little extra screen time to Simu Liu there. So, I hope. I can only hope. I hope that's what goes down. Charlie coming in here. Hey, how are you? I'm good, Charlie. How you doing? I'm just talking a little MCU, talking a little Fantastic Four. It's an exciting time to be a fan of Marvel again. It feels like we really turned a page. He says, say 3 nice things about the Jessica Alba Fantastic Four. All right. Well, they're goofy, which when watching clips back, not watching the full movies, but watching clips, I have an appreciation for it. I think I prefer how the Silver Surfer looked in the second movie than I do in this one. I still think Jennifer Garner looked good, but I think it was a little bit more the style of Rise of the Silver Surfer. I liked a little bit better his look and his aura a little bit, even though Julia Garner absolutely killed it in that role. But I thought the Silver Surfer in that movie looked just really cool, probably just like a childhood nostalgia thing. And then the third thing, it might have the best and most appropriately cut deleted scene ever. If you haven't seen it, when Reed turns himself into Logan, the Wolverine, by altering his molecules. It is absolute nightmare fuel. It is such a good idea that they cut that. He looked so bizarre. It was like a cursed meme before memes existed. So watch that if you haven't. It won't be hard to find. It's on YouTube. Hoops is saying it depends who's driving the narrative in the next arc. They really built up Cap, Iron Man, Thor movies, X-Men, F4, Spider-Man, Shang-Chi, Blade, Doctor Strange, Thor, Black Panther. I mean, dude, there's just so many mouths to feed. Like, how are you going to handle that many characters in a roster? I mean, we don't even have a Blade movie yet. So I'm wondering if they're just going to like scrap the Blade movie until later and just make him show up in an Avengers film. I mean, we already heard his voice, so he already is canon in the MCU because of Eternals, right? Like he spoke, even though it was for like 2 seconds off screen. I guess we're counting that. Which really pisses me off, right? Because like I love Mahershala Ali. I love that Blade character. I really want to see someone like let Jordan Peele or Chad Stahelski, let them take a crack at the character and kind of see what happens. I would love to see that, but this movie is taking forever to get off the ground floor. So I don't know what's going to happen there. Charlie saying, clearly Jessica Alba, Invisible Girl, was the better version. I mean, dealer's choice, I guess. You know, when it comes to look, I agree with you. When it comes to acting chops, no way. T starting a Jessica Alba chant in the chat. I respect it. Hoop saying it starts filming next year, was announced today. What is Blade? You telling me Blade was announced today that they're actually starting to film it? I'm looking this up immediately if that's true. Oh my God, you're right. 2 hours ago, Blade will reportedly begin filming in 2026. Do we have it? We don't have a director attached yet though, right? Like there's still so much up in the air with this whole thing. So, you know, I'll be curious to see what happens. That's a production. Me, like everybody else, everyone's going to be watching that, like with bated breath, trying to figure it out. T saying Chad Stahelski directed Blade would be epic. Yeah, dude, it would be awesome. I would absolutely love to see that. It's not going to happen probably, but I think that'd be so cool. But yeah, wow. Finally announced that it's reportedly beginning filming, you know, emphasis on reportedly beginning filming in 2026. Believe it when I see it, but I hope that happens. Because, like, Mahershala Ali, I mean, that was announced like 6 years ago, right? Which is absolutely insane that it's taken this long to get going. But he's such a talent. You can't have someone like him on the sidelines when he's under contract. Like, I can't believe it's happening. I was worried there for a while that everyone was going to walk away. Like, all parties were just going to be like, screw it. This isn't meant to be. But, you know, that's a positive update we get today. The first of, you know, many, hopefully. The first positive one we've gotten in a long time in general, but hopefully this starts a trend. I want to see more Blade announcements. I want to see Mahershala Ali and his getup. I got to see the duds. I got to see what kind of vibe we're working with here. Because I know they wanted to make it like kind of a period piece, right? And then they scrapped that. I still think they should do that, and I think that shows that it could work with how receptive people are to the period piece aspect of Fantastic Four. But, you know, I'm not the guy signing the checks, unfortunately. If I was, we would have Blade 2 years ago. 3 maybe, if I'm not procrastinating. Hoops hopes it's Stahelski too. Yeah, I mean, I think Stahelski doing that movie, like, that would be awesome. He's proved his chops with action in hand-to-hand, not just gun fu. Seeing what he could do with a sword. We get some sword action and nunchuck action in some of those John Wick movies. Seeing what he could do with a sword in a gun, like, that'd be game over. We're talking about the potential of like the best and coolest action scenes in the MCU. Don't know if that's ever going to happen. Probably won't. But like I said, I'll take Peele being the guy behind the camera as well. I think either of those would be very cool. I think seeing after the vibe he brought to Nope and Us, I think Get Out might be too horror-y to get kind of a comparison in the MCU, but what he kind of made happen in Us and Nope with some of that creep out factor, I think I would go a long way in a vampire movie about a guy that's chopping people's heads off with a sword and shooting them with a gun. So yeah, one can only hope that's going to rock. But, you know, like everyone else, I'm just watching on the sidelines. But I do love getting that update. It's from Daniel RPK. I can't remember if he's like the most reputable scooper we have on Twitter, but I do like hearing that. It's a good thing to hear on a Sunday night. Hoop says, because they said they want to go more horror, supernatural, being very dark, and mutants in the next saga. So Blade and Doctor Strange, maybe Moon Knight can be one of those Guardian side quest teams. Yeah, I mean, or we get like a Midnight Suns film, right? Like, wouldn't that be cool? Like, you could put Moon Knight in there. You could put Ghost Rider in there. You could put Blade in there. You could put a lot of people into the Midnight Suns. I think it'd be really awesome. If we have to wait all the way, I mean, we'll get a Blade movie, right? We'll get a Blade movie before the next two Avengers. Will we? Our only shot probably, right, is a Blade movie. I mean, Secret Wars comes out in 2027, right? So like maybe we get a Blade movie sandwiched in between the two Avengers films. But other than that, it means it's full reboot, right? Like it's happening after Secret Wars. I don't know what that's going to entail. T saying, let Ryan Coogler direct Blade set in the Sinners South and Blade team up with the indigenous vampire hunters. I mean, talk about a crossover, dude. Like, if Coogler didn't already have Black Panther, right? Like, this is the most insane resume builder, tapping Feige on the shoulder, basically being like, yo, I can do vampires. Let me do your vampire film. So if he wasn't already helming Black Panther and we already know he's doing 3, I would say, yeah, he would be the front runner, the obvious choice to do Blade. Since he's doing Black Panther, he's not going to do it, but that would be cool. I mean, he's shown that he understands that vampire vibe. Hoop saying, I think we get Blade in 2027 or right after X-Men. Yeah, so it's going to be... I mean, do you think if it's 2027, do you think it's going to be late 2027 or is it going to be before Secret Wars? I'm very interested to kind of see where that falls. I mean, that changes where that takes place in the timeline tells us a lot. Like, would they even, does that mean Blade's going to be involved in Secret Wars, or does that mean they want us to turn our continuity brains off for a minute and kind of let it be like Fantastic Four, where we're like, hey, this is a standalone thing. It's on a different Earth. It's not connected to the MCU. We get Secret Wars later that year, but Blade's not going to be in it. This is his introduction for later when stuff's rebooted. Or is that going to confuse the hell out of people too much that they wouldn't do that? I think that might confuse them too much. So, us talking about it right now, I'm more convinced that we'll get it in the next saga. Hoops is saying, because my guess is X-Men literally starts off Phase 7 being the first project, with Feige saying X-Men starts off that singular timeline. Yeah, you're probably right. I think, it's probably going to be called, do we already know? I can't remember. Is it the Mutant Saga? Like, it's going to end up being like the Mutant Saga, which is great because I can't wait to get out of the multiverse saga and stuff like that. Secret Wars hopefully brings that to a close and brings more higher stakes to the entire timeline and franchise. Because being able to pull out a dude from another universe after your universe versions dies or something, like, it just eliminates all the stakes for me. I can't wrap my head around it. So I need multiverse gone, and I hope that starts with Phase 7 after Secret Wars. Gave me Secret Wars because it's just going to be so bonkers. I just can't wait to witness it as a big blockbuster movie fan. But yeah, I'm kind of done with the multiverse. T saying X-Men won't come out until 2028, 2029 at the earliest. Yeah, I think that's right on the money. I think no one's even thinking about that. I mean, who knows about the casting, what kind of decisions they're making behind the scenes, prior to, I don't even know if they're legally allowed to. Like, I wonder can you even shop around the role and just not announce it? If there's legal tenure in place for those actors, I don't know. I don't know what kind of decisions they're going to make. Because I wanted, oh my God, what's her name? The redhead from Stranger Things. I wanted her as Jean Grey, and she's going to be in that next Spider-Man film. Probably not as Jean Grey. So we'll see if she ends up being like MJ or something. But she's a redhead, so obviously that might be who she's playing. But in different universe, non-forgotten Spider-Man world, MJ. But we'll see. T saying X-Men needs to be large in scale and might be a 2-parter because it needs to be grand in scale. Yeah, I could see. I don't know how they're going to do that. Because there's just so many characters, right? Like, are they going to reintroduce them in the sense of, like, start really small? Like, we're just going to get kind of like a Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Beast, Rogue kind of movie? I don't know. Kind of would be cool, but I really have no idea what that's going to look like. I don't really know if they do either yet. So it'll be interesting to see. But I am very interested. Like I said, don't love the RDJ Doom stuff, but that ends at Secret Wars. So I hope they do it well, but I know there's an end in sight there. But when it comes to the future after that, like, this is huge. Like, this is so important to see how they're going to handle this going forward. Like, that's uncharted territory when we talk about Phase 7. So, Hoop saying, what helps me with the multiverse saga stuff is them saying incursions are bad, so they can't just pull another Cap, another Wolverine, etc., because it disrupts the stability of multiverse. That's me, though. No, and you're right. Like, that little bit of dialogue does pull some weight where it's like, it debunks it a little bit, right? Where it's like, oh, if I'm saying, oh, there's no stakes, you can just, other characters exist in other multiverses. And what you're saying is correct, right? Like, incursions are bad, so you can't just take another hero from another spot. I get that. But in the same vein, they could just make a movie about another universe's character that has died in ours and be like, no, this is okay because it's about this guy's universe. And it wouldn't have any, it would just kind of feel cheap, right? So, we'll see how they're going to handle it going forward. T saying the smallest team, referring to the X-Men, is still 7 to 8 characters. Yeah, and that's, you're right. It might need to be a 2-parter. It's a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of screen time to attribute to different characters. T saying, I hope they don't kill RDJ. Just let him rule Latveria 626 and interject every now and then in movies. That would be cool. Just kind of have like almost making him like a cartoon villain, right? Or like a comic villain that just kind of pops up every once in a while, has something going on, but like isn't a big part of the films. Yeah, I like that. Seems hypocritical because like I still don't like the RDJ stuff, but like I don't mind that. I think that would be kind of cool. Just let him be off ruling his little world. The thing is, though, like, if Doom knows there are other universes, and, like, will he be okay with not ruling those, though, and, like, trying to break out of his? I don't know. Like, would he be content with 626? It's anyone's guess. I don't know. But you could easily make the argument that Marvel is entering their most important and pivotal movie phase ever in 26 and 27. It's like make or break. I think a lot of the decisions they make in these stories could either get people that were lifelong fans to be like, I'm never paying attention to this again. Or if done well, they'd be like, wow, I have my foot in my mouth. Feige's a genius, and I can't believe they did this RDJ thing, and I actually liked it. So really no idea how it's going to turn out. Obviously, like as a fan, I hope it works. I think the RDJ stuff right now is stupid. But I hope I'm wrong, obviously. I want it to be awesome. I'll be first in line for both of those Avengers movies. So, obviously I want it to be sick, but that was not putting the right foot forward for me. All right, well, this was just a quick, tight, like hour-long stream for me here. I got to cut this. I got to watch Big Brother with the wife before she goes to bed. We're in a very deep, high-stakes fantasy league about it. My toxic trait is I do enjoy a lot of kind of like crappy reality TV, Big Brother, Traders, that kind of stuff. Good mindless TV entertainment. So let me see. I'll take one more comment here. Hoops is saying, I'm beyond intrigued by this story that ignited us, that the Russos say Stephen McFeely sparked them coming back with RDJ having to be this Doom. Like, what could it possibly be? Yeah, I mean, that's a big question, right? Like, are they full of shit? Which we've seen the Russos kind of be cheeky and coy in interviews in the past. But I don't know. We'll see if the story's actually worth its salt, if it's actually as good as they're talking about. We won't know until it's here. There's no way to verify it. I'm not a fan of the Russos really right now. Definitely outside of the MCU. I don't really like anything that they've done. Cherry wasn't good. Gray Man was forgettable. Electric State was like $300 million of money laundering, but we'll see. They did my favorite MCU movie in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, so I have to give them a little bit of grace and a little bit of tolerance, so we'll see. Hoping it turns out well. But that is it for me. I got to bounce. Thank you guys for popping into the chat and talking a quick little F4 spoiler discussion with me in the future of the MCU. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Go watch a movie tonight. I know I'm gonna after this. I think I'm gonna check out the 94 unreleased Fantastic Four. Have never watched it. I heard it's not good, but we'll see what happens. Until next time, take it easy. I'm seeing Naked Gun tomorrow. I'll have a review out for that pretty soon. I hope that makes me laugh my ass off and I say that comedy is back, baby. But until then, go watch a movie. Be good. See you guys later.